Welcome to this lovely opportunity to drink tea together and explore this leaf, explore the experience around this lovely beverage, and to dive a little deeper into what can be thought of as an active mindfulness. And before we actually start drinking and serving, just how awesome it is that we can that we can sit and drink tea together like this, and how this almond-based experience has brought us together. And I just love it. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I'm here in the middle of England, and I mean, you could be anywhere on the entire planet, and here we are about to drink a beautiful warm beverage together. And I thank you for taking the time to sit, to experience this, and hopefully take a few things away from this experience that go forward, and you can enjoy yourself and also share with others too. So yes, here we are. Now I'm gonna, well, I guess firstly, my name's Richard, and I really like tea. And as much as I like tea, I love the experience of mindfully drinking tea, either on my own or sharing it with other people. And how cool that there are hundreds of us right now here doing this. And you know, sometimes it's more formal and governed by ritual, and other times it's more casual tea. And we're going to kind of weave in and out of both of those elements of mindfully drinking tea. And I'd encourage you to be present with the beverage in front of you, to be aware of the bowl or the cup that you're drinking from, to feel the textures, to notice the steam of the kettle, if you're by your kettle or if you have got the tea in front of you already. To be mindful of those things, the texture of the teapot, the sounds, as the mind wanders, how you can bring your mind back to being present with that experience in front of you. So this first tea that I'm going to personally drink is a really lovely white tea. It's nice, it's uplifting, it's light, slightly floral. And by the way, I do have a bowl down here. I'm not just I'm not just pouring tea on the floor. I'm just going to do a short steeping on this first one. And that's to allow some of the goodness of the leaf out, which in essence is kind of an extraction process, hot water extraction on leaf. Kind of sounds sterile, but that's literally what's happening. And the leaf will offer a certain amount, depending on the water temperature, the volume of the water, the size of the teapot, all these different elements, all these different physical parts of this experience affecting it, the bowl, the tapering of the bowl, the size of the mouth around it, allowing more or less oxygen in, exposing the tea to more or less the surface of it to the air. And you see, when we drink a tea like this, it's so lovely to allow the mind to be present with this experience, and how different that is from sticking a cuppa on the side and occasionally having a swig. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. Like, you can enjoy your tea how you enjoy it. But for the purpose of this is to tune into the vessel, the cup, the sounds, the aromas. And to think of, as we drink, if you are drinking from a bowl, to think of yourself drinking from a stream, both hands cupping the water, being more present with the water, with the bowl. And I thank Buddha for his teachings through this, through the years of learning, and I also let my mind wander into thanking the leaf and the tree as a living entity. How we can drink the extraction of a leaf, the offerings, the gift of a leaf, and it can go in and communicate within the body. It can communicate to the tongue, with the brain and the gut, the different organs, the kidneys, the liver, the spleen. And then going deeper into perhaps more than the physical or less than the physical, either way, how it can have an energetic effect within the body. And I allow myself to wander, I allow my mind to wander into how tea has been and will be used for thousands of years as medicine, as having an effect within the body. Again, to go back straight into that again, is the communication between this warm beverage that we drink, the tongue, the brain, the gut, the organs. How fascinating. And as you sit there drinking, allowing your mind to wander too a little bit. Allowing a little bit of silence. The key element of this beautiful beverage is the way in which it arrived here in the bowl, in the teapot. Stepping back to the farm or plantation, however it was. And then I like to contemplate the farming practices. And to allow what has been to have been and what will be to be, in that I choose organic tea or wild tea. Now I'll come on to that in a second. That's my personal choice, and there's a number of reasons for that choice. Starting with the tree, thinking about the use of agrochemicals, without judgment, without it making it wrong or right or however that is. There's a farm, there's a plantation, there are trees, and there is the use of agrochemicals, and there's an impact. And the use of those agrochemicals means the soil, the tree, the people, perhaps it rains and it's washed off into the rivers. And again, without judgment, without making that right or wrong, just knowing that there is an action and then there is a consequence, there is a sequence of events that follow that. And then I can think about organic farming. And without going deep into the regulations and rules around the word organic, but just to think of that in a broad sense of perhaps less or no agrochemicals used, or ones that aren't damaging to the environment, the ecology. That the farmers are in a safer environment. That when I drink an organic tea leaf, almost like the tea from an organic tea leaf, I'm allowing my body to be exposed to the goodness within the leaf, perhaps the antioxidants, or perhaps, I don't know, in a fermented tea, some of the beneficial potential for the gut, and then going deeper into the actual movement of energy within the body, the deeper medicinal potential of this beautiful beverage, without the potential for agrochemicals being in the drink and in my body and having that physical internal experience. Choosing an organic tea, like, yeah, that makes sense. The past, the present, and the future of that choice in all manners. Just for me, it's such a clear thing. Yes. I can drink my tea knowing that I'm giving my body the greatest opportunity to receive the potential from the tea, rather than the stresses of a non-organic tea, let's go with. And then, and see if you can allow your mind to wander into this realm. It's such a beautiful exploration of thinking of a tea tree on a mountain, and perhaps it's 200 years old, 300 years old, 4, 5, 1,000 years old. You know, we're really safe saying that we can think of a 1 or even 2,000 year old tree, tea tree that is. And I like to allow my mind to wander into that tree being alive and well on the mountain, breathing the cleanest air, and has been doing for many, many years, receiving the cleanest rainwater, beautifully connected perfectly with the surrounding environment, the animals, the weather patterns, the changes in weather from spring into summer into winter and back again, that cycle, not forgetting autumn. And then I like to think of that, and I think of a human. If a human were that old, was so connected and deeply in tune with the environment, and like a tea tree can give leaf, can give a beverage to us, and that can go into the human body and speak, it gets me so excited and happy. It can speak to the tongue, to the brain and the gut and the energy within the human. And there's a communication that goes on within. And it may even help relieve ailments, relieve illness. Like, what a beautiful exploration, what a beautiful thought process. And I think of that within a human. Wouldn't I want to have a conversation with that kind of human. To ask some questions, to learn a little bit. I would love that. 1,000, 2,000-year-old human that was well, thriving, perfectly in tune with the environment, their surroundings. I say, hey, how did you do this? How did you live so long and so well and in such good vibration? and then the beautiful thing about this is, and you can think of this in terms of other foods as well, is that happens on some level when I drink this beverage. I receive a communication within. It's speaking to my cells. It's literally communicating. And then just to allow that, like that thought process, like we've just experienced a few minutes of mindfulness within this action that we often do, drinking a tea, drinking a warm beverage, or maybe it's coffee that you're drinking, or whatever it is thinking to the depths of the potential both for physical experience and emotional placebo experience, and then the depths of the medicine that this leaf may have. Excuse me. And as I pour this, just before, I just allowed my energy to settle a little bit, to calm. And the same when I serve people as well, is just like in a conversation. If I go into a conversation or an interaction with another human with angst, with anger or whatever it might be, an unfavored present state for myself, I take that into the interaction. And similarly with tea and with serving, is I'll allow myself to settle for a second, clear my energy, and then serve and then pour. And similarly, whilst I'm drinking, is to go with the bowl, to allow myself to be present, because as I drink the tea inwards, however my energy field is, however my thoughts are, whatever that is, I may be perpetuating a negative emotion. And like let go of all of that for a second, and then flip that to when I clear my energy and give myself some peace and a little moment of clarity. Both I have that present moment stillness and the potential to cycle that round. And just notice your mind as it's having a conversation, or maybe notice a sound, or be present with the beverage that you have and connect. And if the mind wanders, just bringing your attention back to the bowl, back to the tastes, allowing the senses to notice the texture of the water, to notice the different parts of the mouth where there are different flavors and sensations. To notice perhaps if you can smell certain aromas. This second steeping, the the leaves have offered a little extra for me. I didn't steep it for a particularly long time. I'm quite familiar with this tea, so by feeling rather than timing it, I just have a sense of, and also I'm present to the steeping experience. And so, yeah, you know, it's not perfect. there's a plus and minus of room for error, of course. But this one was quite an in tune steeping. And again, as I'm drinking this, I'm just now noticing more of the physical sensations, the taste, the flavors, the different parts of the tongue that those sensations are touching. Perhaps a tiny notes of bitterness within there, a slight astringency. And then as I drink the beverage, the mouthfeel afterwards, a slight dryness in the mouth. Without judgment, just noticing. And often in with food and diet as well, people eat first for taste and flavor, and that's awesome. Like, yeah, of course, choose foods and those things that you enjoy the experience of. And I also like to be mindful of the physical, let's go with aftermath of that experience. So I may choose something very high in sugar and tasty and instant gratification on the tongue. Ah, so sweet, so good. And then, not rightly or wrongly, there will be an experience in the human body after the case, after the mouth feel, the mouth taste, the stimulation of taste buds. And this is one of the things that I was exposed to through tea, is drinking, and again myself now, is eating first for the feeling, first for the physical, the energetic experience, and secondly for taste. And again, to reiterate, not to choose bad tasting things, like, but to just be aware of that it doesn't have to taste like deep indulgent sweetness, sugar or saltiness, whatever your kind of thing might be in that world, to have an incredible physical experience with that food or beverage. If we just go for taste, then wow, like it's like a whole world of potential is lost. And also within all of this, I mentioned it just briefly before, is acknowledging the placebo effect of this experience, of any mindful experience of, wow, this is like really good. I really like this. I really am thinking about and almost visualizing these trees and these beautiful humans collecting the leaves, and I'm experiencing the fresh air around there and the clear rivers and streams, and I can hear the birds singing as they fly around and do a little poo on the 2,000-year-old tea tree. We can experience that in the mind. We can create that, and then just saying that out loud, how I notice my physical feelings shift and change within me. There's a really huge opportunity for playing the game of placebo. Like, what a great game to play. Even just saying that, I can laugh, and as I laugh, I know there's a flood of beneficial hormones cruising through my body. If you like, take a nice breath and just relax for a second. If you want to, close your eyes. And just breathing through the nose, notice the sensations. Is it warm or cool through the breath? Any dampness or sniffles? Is it easy to breathe or congested? Not judging those sensations, but just allowing them to arise and pass as you observe them. And if the mind wanders into whatever it might wander into, you can bring your attention back to the breath for a second. Just observing the breath in and out. Not trying to breathe, but just allowing the body to breathe. Again, noticing the sensations in the nasal passage. Is it warm or cool, damp or dry? Any pain, any pleasure or tingling sensations? Not trying to create sensations, but just as you sit there relaxing, observing the sensations as they arise and pass. And when the mind wanders, you just bring your attention back to the breath. Following the breath in your own time. Observing the in-breath seamlessly transform to an out-breath. And an out-breath transform to an in-breath. And carry on for a second if you want to with that, just observing the breath. If you like, just after those few beautiful little moments, the mind may have felt a bit wandery, intense. Why is he doing this now? What's that about? Oh, I can smell burning, or whatever the mind wants to tell you. But as we bring the mind back to the present moment, as we observe, as we reflect consciousness back upon ourselves, and even in a short meditation, or perhaps a longer meditation, it's helping us be more mindful, be more present, almost like training the mind. And I claim no rights over that meditation at all. I'm experiencing Vipassana a number of years ago and practicing it. It's a really lovely breath work, just observing the body breathe, following the breath in and out. The mind wanders, we bring our attention back to the breath. And then now drinking some tea or whatever it is you're drinking there, perhaps noticing a different level of awareness. Perhaps the bowl feels different, or your cup. Perhaps as you drink it, you notice different tastes or sensations. This journey into tea began When I heard about green tea in my sort of mid to late teens, yeah, green tea, that sounds good. At that point, I was thinking in a world of, oh, fat burning, yes. Or perhaps like the antioxidant kind of world of it. And yeah, like maybe some of that is like totally true. But what I didn't know is how that was going to lead me down this path of of deep stillness, deep connection with other humans, and being able to share this experience with hundreds and thousands of people, and connecting and learning from great masters of this tea, this leaf, this practice. What I'm going to do is I've had a few steepings of that. It's been very nice and I've appreciated it. Again, I do have a bowl down here. I'm not just pouring tea on the floor, which would be interesting. I'm going to move on to a slightly different tea. This one is a chaud pu'er, and it's an aged chaud pu'er. Pu'er being the region and chaud being the type. You've got sheng and chaud, and that's a whole like lifetimes of of learning and exploration. But to lean into chaud, this beautiful tea you will have had perhaps past batches of bacteria added to the leaves to support a fermentation process, and was kept at a certain temperature and kept at a certain humidity through water and thermal blankets. And then as the people looking after the tea will have been monitoring the process when it was ready, when it was ripe perhaps being a great word to use here. Chaud leaning into that kind of world of ripe. It would have been pressed into cakes, and this one being from around 2010, aged, left in an environment that supports its aging. And here it is, here she is. So I'm just going to rinse and drink the first bowl of this in silence, just to welcome this new tea in. the contrast of the teas is incredible. And neither is better or worse. And as humans, we love these categories of differences and comparing. And that's something that tea has really allowed me to melt and diffuse in my brain, or support the diffusing and melting of, is the better or worse, the categorization, the right or wrong. Rather than just allowing and being with what is. And just to describe this tea as it is, this show pu'er, this aged show tea. It's got slightly astringent bitterness to it. It's warm, it feels warming within my body. It's earthy. Generally speaking, sho is known to have a grounding, more downward movement, energetically speaking. I've just realised that this tea is actually from the 1980s. This is a very old tea. Lovely. Thinking back to the time when this was picked, I may not even have been born. And I can allow myself to go back into that experience of the communication between my tongue and brain and stomach and organs, allowing that to happen. Thinking of the old tea trees, and back in the 80s when this tea was picked, what it must have been like up there. And feeling just deep gratitude for the farmers and the tea sages and doctors of Chinese medicine, that whole realm of exploration of plants and herbs, and how fortunate I am, how fortunate we are to be able to drink these beverages now, to feel these feelings, to also have studies on these drinks for the potential within the human body. The span of gratitude, of that potential for goodness within the thought, within my emotional experience of this drink is endless, limitless. And I can sit here and allow my body to calm, allow the energy of the tea to move through my body, to speak within. Like the communication with a wise human, how I can listen and learn, how I can allow this wise tea to go in and speak and communicate with my cells. And then as I sit more still and allow this beautiful medicine to do its work, I can let go even more and allow myself to reflect back upon myself, like in the meditation, to perhaps observe my physical, observe the physical, sitting still, just allowing the sensations to move around my body as you might like to. Just sit still and feel the feelings that you're feeling, without judgment of them being right, wrong, good or bad, just observing them. And if you want to, just close your eyes and see if you can observe. Perhaps you want to tune into certain parts of your body, the stomach area or the heart area. Wherever you choose, just to focus your attention there. I'm going to go with my heart area, the heart chakra, the solar plexus, and just focus my energy, allowing my body to breathe as I put my attention in the solar plexus area. Not trying to create sensations, but just observing those sensations. Allowing my body to feel, to express, allowing the T to move, allowing my chi energy to move. Observing my senses as my attention may move back to the tongue, to the taste of the tea, and then back to the heart. My mind may wander, and I just put my attention back on my heart area. Not trying to create the sensations, but just observing those sensations. Allowing the mind to wander, but then observing it, bringing your attention back to wherever it is you're focusing. Observing the energy, observing the physical sensations. Not trying to create or avoid sensations, but just observing those sensations as they arise and pass. And perhaps they last a little bit longer sometimes, or more short-lived, but just observing them. And when the mind wanders, you just bring your attention back. If you want, you can stay there and carry on while I just share a few more bits and bobs, or slowly open your eyes again and drink a little more tea. Wow. do feel very privileged to have found this part of the journey, these experiences. And often I'll speak with friends who are also on a similar journey, and will in conversation just be so grateful for, like, wow, thank you that I came into this practice, into mindfulness, into meditation, however you want to categorize it, through tea, through other practices, whether yours is yoga or whatever it might be, that I'm able to still my mind. I'm able to sit and be in stillness and allow other things to be happening around, to find stillness, to find grounding, to feel love, to feel these beautiful sensations, to allow them to come, to allow them to pass, to allow the pain to arrive and to pass as well, without judgment, knowing that it comes to pass. And knowing that this journey is continuous, the learning is continuous, the deepening of this experience continues. Wow. How are you doing there? I hope you've found some peace. You've perhaps allowed the mind to wander and brought it back, to have allowed these little stories and sharings to have perhaps provoked a desire for whatever it may have stirred within you. I know that for the first few experiences I had of mindful tea drinking, the key messages I personally took away were thinking about how the tea was grown, where it came from, and the effects there, and then all the way to my cup, to my bowl, to my own personal experience of it, and how that affects me going forward. From the trees, from the farming, from the families, the farmers, the tea sages, the ecology, the rivers out there, and then here, and my mindfulness, my practice, and how that can help me in my relationships and experience of life going forward. They were some of the initial things. And then I practiced and practiced and practiced, and years and years and years went by of sharing and deepening and pleasure and pain and all of it. Just allowing. And I'll sit here now just observing the steam rising. I can see the colour of this beautiful tea. Lovely, dark brown colour. Beautiful, beautiful. I can almost see the texture, the nectar, the potential as the steam just dances. And I'm also slightly aware of my neighbours and how they've, over these weeks, they may have done a great number of meditations, because I've been sharing evening meditations, and they may have learned a lot about tea as well. And I can bring myself back to the tea right in front of me here. I'm just going to share one more little story about tea leaf, and then going to share briefly about a few mushroom powders that I have been drinking for a number of years. And so this little experience was quite a fun one. So I remember drinking tea in London once, and it was a very specific experience. I'd had a few days of gastroenteritis, unfortunately, and my whole system was empty. And there was a tea bar in London, in quite a corporate area, say. And I went in after my days of illness, and I went in and I said, look, I've been a bit poorly, and I'm looking for a tea to support my digestive system, and something that's kind of that you may recommend to bring me back. Like, I hadn't eaten anything for days, and instantly this lovely lady said, "Chaud, you just drink some of this." And I was like, okay, cool. And I think it was a 2008. I know it was. I remember it vividly. And I sat there and I drank a few bowls, and I drank a few more. And there wasn't many people in because it was a weekday. It was a working day. And I drank a few more bowls. And I think about 2 or 3 hours went by. It was a busy day, obviously, for me. And I remember vividly, and this now is probably 8 or 9 years ago, perhaps. I remember standing up from drinking a lot of tea, and I remember feeling my stomach, this beautiful sensation, tingling away, bubbling away. And I remember walking out, and I was like, wow, woohoo, I feel good. I feel really good right now. And I remember the sensation in my stomach, the beautiful tingling sensation is increasing and increasing. And I remember thinking, oh, like, this is almost like a bit overwhelmingly good. And I walked out, and at this point it was around about 5 p.m. So people were leaving the offices, and I was walking down the street. I remember walking outside, and my body just began to just tingle in deep pleasure stemming from my stomach. It was like moving upwards in this cyclical movement. And I'm like walking down the street with these people leaving the offices in like the deepest, most bizarre kind of pleasure as I walked down the street. And I remember stopping almost like this, I ring my head thinking, wow, what is this? And then now in hindsight, it doesn't matter what it was at all. Like, maybe it was the tea, maybe it was just complete coincidence, maybe it was some sort of from the fermentation process, and then it being in my beverage and the hours of drinking and my system being empty. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. But I do know that day this leaf spoke to me. This leaf communicated with me, and it expressed to me without words, just in physical sensation, that there is something deeply profound about plant medicine, about tea, about leaves. And I remember I don't know what happened after that, but it was a really lovely moment, and a profound conversation that happened within. And those similar physical sensations I've experienced a couple of other times. One was during the first 10-day Vipassana that I experienced. After a number of deeply painful emotional experiences in the first 5 days, that similarly kind of almost leaning towards orgasmic sensations from nothing, from taking away. And then obviously with the tea, it was the tea, but in the Vipassana meditation, it was like, wow. How fascinating. Now just take a moment, maybe close your eyes for a second. Just allow any of that information to go in, to disappear, just to see where your mind goes, and knowing that this is not just about that information that's going in, it's about your personal experience going forward. This is about your experience of life.